Yeah. Oh, nice to be with you too.
So you were
And
talking relationship, honey.
yeah, I'm really into this. One of the websites is art, the art of authentic relating. Um, no, the art of no, authentic relational training, ART, authentic relational training. And the other is I forget authentic relating, but that's where I live. That's so alive. It's like burning inside of me. So they have relation. They've identified 4 relational languages:
Hmm.
inquiry, observation, information, which they call storytelling, but it's really not story telling. It's just informational, um, and direct, where your language style is directing, or your language style is inquiring, or your language style is informing, um, or your language style is observing, and being able to move back and forth in those. And I really appreciate this. Uh, and 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 the principles are like, welcome everything, assume nothing, reveal your own experience, honor self and others. But the first thing is slow down to the now moment and notice what's going on inside of you. And I don't know of anything more valuable for me as a person, or for humanity, actually, for us. So that's my check-in.
Nice.
Well, just the other night, some friends were telling me about this group called Quantum Thinking. I mean, they call their group Quantum Thinking.
Uh-huh.
And their little, great morsel of advice is to speak to people as if you're meeting them for the first time. And if you can train your mind to do that, what you're basically doing is eliminating all of the fluff that started to surround your relationship, and meet them as if you're meeting them for the first time. And that one moved me. I was very, very taken with that.
Well, what about the relational bonds that have been formed? You don't want to discard those, I would say.
No, I don't think they come up. It means that in your first impression of being with them, which leads to conversation, is that this is a new person. So you're looking at them with a totally fresh mind.
That's nice.
I mean, it doesn't go any further than that. Obviously, you wouldn't displace all load of information that's in there. I mean, that'd be almost impossible to do. But the concentration is on, let's start this current conversation from a very fresh place.
So what's emerging is relational technology, is what I've called it, relational technology. And we need that. It's wonderful. Can't get enough.
In a slightly different vein, but similar, I was reading an article last night, which I need to resurrect, on somatic therapy.
Oh,
And
nice.
it seems to be a very big movement in the therapeutic world, where they've developed ways of getting people to see their bodies in different ways and discover places of safety in their body when they're triggered in a way that allows them to be able to release some of that without a lot of reigniting old wounds and that kind of thing. What was also really interesting in this was comments by Black therapists and how incredibly significant it has been for them, especially during the pandemic and the time of George Floyd's killing, that how triggering that was for them. Just incredible. And you know, we don't talk about that much. It's like killing George Floyd was the last straw. It wasn't about a Black man, I don't believe. What I saw in that video was a callous disregard for life, period. Just an institutionalized callous disregard for life, that it was just fine to do that to anybody. And that, I think, is what really triggered the amount of response to that, because you just can't do that. You can't do that to other people. So this is all relational, you know. This is really about reaffirming our connection to other people as human beings, having value, life as having value. I mean, the whole thing is all about relationships, which in a separated society, which we are, has been just of low value. So we don't have skills.
Right.
We don't even have the discernment to see that that's an issue. You know?
I wonder sometimes just how deep the obstacle is in our psyche that we are worthless.
Mm.
That we are not worth the material that makes us up.
Yeah.
We've done something wrong. It was a mistake. I say that because I'm really inspired by this young woman, Native American, who gave a TED talk, and her name's Lila June.
Lila June. Yes, she's amazing.
And just the grace, but the specificity of what she was saying. It's like, would it really be better if humans didn't exist on the planet? And she said resoundingly, no, we're here for a reason, which is something I've believed for a long, long time. I mean, the relationship, to get to that, Connie, is absolutely critical of the human to the totality of nature. I mean, we're here for a reason. And the little clip I saw is only 13 minutes, and it's just very much to the point. And I will definitely use it in coming lectures that I give. But it just really warmed my heart to hear it presented so elegantly.
Yes, humans are intrinsic.
Yes, and I mean, it just changes everything. It answers the question, what's beyond humans beginning to relate to one another? I mean, if nobody gives a damn, if it's not worth it, then so what? Why do it? And I think a lot of people actually think that way. I mean, there are a lot of people who are opting out, either by suicide or just becoming hermits. Hoarders is one way it's done. And, so obviously a first step is intraspecies relationship. But then, I mean, this is the importance of your work, Catherine, in particular. The next step is, realizing that this goes way beyond us.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
so critical.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
She's one
wonder
of
if we
the few people who talk about humans being intrinsic. She is the daughter of Pat McCabe,
Right,
Woman Stand Shining. And
right.
Pat is now working on the sacred masculine. She discovered a relationship that has put her into that place. And so she's now doing a lot of work on the sacred masculine and how to bring that forward.
Uh,
Yeah,
should
they're a
be
remarkable
interesting.
family. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a
Because
feeling that Lila was well connected, but I didn't know anything else more about her.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are other people working on the sacred masculine and the joining of the sacred masculine with the sacred feminine that I regularly correspond with. And my feeling is I can get easily jumbled up in this whole thing about abortion. I'm concerned that it gets sidetracked, about a deep wound sort of issue as abortion rights.
Yeah.
When it's something that's so much broader, if it gets sidetracked, it's a distraction. I'm very concerned about that, because what we're talking about is really, one of the divine principles that run the universe.
Yeah. They're both there and they need to be, right?
Yeah. And so, I mean, I only say that because this one woman I know, I think, does get a little bit sidetracked with the issue when some of her writing, I think, is well directed. I haven't spoken to her specifically about whether it's a distraction or not. I'm sure I would get lambasted for it, but I'm bringing that up setting because we're talking about how there needs to be a really large perspective taken on all of these issues.
Yeah.
Lest we, get overwhelmed with distractions. Like Congress right now. I mean, it's just totally impotent because it's totally distracted.
Yeah. I think that's why I have such faith in the indigenous approach, because they're so grounded in the totality of things that it's unlikely that they will be as easily distracted. And it's amazing to me to realize how necessary it was for them to be trained in Western ways in order to come back and talk to us.
Mm-hmm.
Because without that training, it is really hard to really make that connection. And yet, all the women with prominence right now are very strongly Western trained and have just chosen to step out of it and to bring forward what where their hearts are. But it gives them the path to do that, the connections that make it easy for us to see those issues without the stain of the Western belief system, because we can trust them.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was the graciousness of Lila's presentation, the one I heard. I mean, I gather she's done a number, but this was a specific TED Talk. But it was absolutely what would be the right word? Blamatory.
Yeah. Yep.
Whatever that word would be, not non-blaming. Sure, a lot of blame can be thrown around. And she did mention that there does need to be coming together to understand. She said, not so much, in physical terms of, reparations, though some of that needs to be there, but there needs to be a really, a return of native lands for their use. She said that would be one that's very important, but she said primarily it's just to let go of this disconnect.
Yeah.
Whatever form it takes, abject hatred, not demonizing, whatever it takes.
I appreciate that each of us is on it, that we're attempting in our own way, in our own relationship with our internet and the people that come into our lives and the learnings available to us, that we're on it in terms of really seeking to be part of the solution.
Yeah. But it's working. I mean, there is this kind of connection is obviously widespread and it's working. For instance, I was going on and on about what's his name? Convo, the man who wrote the book I was talking about plants, and how he spent the first 50 pages.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Get ready, settle yourself in. What are your beliefs and distortions about plants? Because you got to get over that. Then I'll tell you. Well, so I'm reading the book that you recommended, Ani. I needed a book to travel with, and so I got one, Entangled Life. And he doesn't separate that approach out. It's just simply throughout his book, constantly talking about, that the main issue is to adjust one's own perceptions so that one can actually receive what the fungi have to teach us. But it was unmistakable. Now, by any chance, do you know if Merlin Sheldrake is the son of Rupert?
Yes.
I thought so. Nowhere in the book does he say so, which I thought was a plus.
Yeah.
He didn't feel he had to do that. But yeah, that's a good lineage.
Yes. Yeah.
I just appreciate that we're being informed, that we present ourselves to be informed by the universe through other authors, other humans who are seeking and caring.
Yeah.
And I know for me, George Floyd's death was the turning point for me. That woke me up in a way that I hadn't been awake, and I thought I was awake before, but that did it. I mean, seeing, like what you're saying, that discarding of any caring about life itself.
Yeah.
That did it for me.
Yeah.
That was May the 25th, 2019. I remember that day.
Yeah, I think that's what's coming out in a lot of anti-racism work also. And it's the same kinds of thought patterning where we're being coached to begin to see with new eyes some of the things, the subtle undercurrents that have permeated our society that we haven't really paid attention to. In my denomination, the Unitarians, we've been engaged in that for decades now, with lots of fallout, because it's really hard for white folks to see complicity and not feel bad about that, and not feel bad about themselves, and understand how systemic it is, and just realize you can change your mind. It's kind of a simple process. Yeah, and when you do that, the whole world opens up in different ways. You begin to see things that you didn't see before, and that's good. It doesn't mean that you're.
Well, I'm beginning to think that there's nothing more dangerous than a human being who feels bad about themselves.
Yeah, yes, yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
Because what
Yeah,
goes
'cause we'll
along
take
with that,
everybody else down with them.
what goes along with that is the fact that my grandfather used to teach me that to laugh at yourself.
Yeah,
You're gonna make
yeah,
mistakes. You are making mistakes. Laugh at yourself, because that's 99% of what the universe can teach you. You can only recognize if you're laughing at yourself. Otherwise, you're going to throw it all away. And I've been hearing that a lot in my brain lately because, one, I love my grandfather. He was a lovely man. He lived to be 96, living by himself. He was quite something. But beyond that, this, I truly believe that our greatest blockage is simply this disdain. People, we all, to some extent, I'll admit it for myself, definitely,
Yeah.
hold ourselves in. It's very dangerous. Instead of seeing, the dynamic, shining, human being that we can be.
sure, yeah, yeah. I, was it Marianne Williamson who said we're just afraid of our light? That's
Oh,
really,
That'd be a good way to put it.
we're
that's right.
just afraid of that. So yeah, that's really the big challenge, to accept the light we are.
Yeah, that's true.
And
Yeah.
I also don't, I think it's kind of a waste of time to spend too much time worrying about how we got that way. I mean, that can lead you into rabbit holes, very quickly.
It's a challenge to recognize my own light and hold that vibration. I mean, because it is so energizing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like I get fat. It's like my energy just makes me fat. And seriously, I really had to develop a practice to, yes, acknowledge, experience, feel, be that, and and that I'm that, and I don't exactly know how to describe the rest of that, but that I am just a person, just one person, because I feel so filled with power so much of the time that I have to manage it.
I manage it by seeking to join with others, to evoke that same experience from other people so we can play together at
Yeah,
that level.
yeah. That's why I'm so excited about this new involvement that I have in authentic relating.
Yeah.
These, yeah, to be
Yeah.
with others with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a heart condition, evidently, where a leaky valve, to the
Yeah,
point where if I get really excited, in other words, I swell with, the excitement of the power. I know that well, what you're saying, but my heart will start to pitter patter and, and it'll actually sort of knock me back. That doesn't happen if I'm totally engaged with other people and we share the energy.
Oh, nice.
right.
Nice. Good.
It only happens if I try to take on too much on my own.
Right.
Right.
So in that sense, it's a good thing. Oh, and it's also evidently no danger to my lifespan. But it's just a part and parcel of what I have moving inside of me. But that's part of what laughing at yourself looks like. You start to say, well, yeah, there are these sort of limitations, but are they really? Maybe not.
Yeah, maybe they're impetus to be more creative. Yeah.
Helping me learn about myself.
Oh,
Yeah, HR today, or the last 3 days actually, has been really, really interesting. He's brought people who lived and worked with James Lovelock and Lynn Margolis, and who have been working on understanding and verifying the concept of the biotic pump.
biotic
Pump. So it's the understanding of how air and water and life work together.
Oh.
And so the earth kind of breathes in and out with the seasons, and the water transpiration rate, when that happens correctly, is what's responsible for the trade winds and the moving of air throughout the world, which carries the precipitation, which allows for rainfall or not. And so explaining that, getting people to understand that relationship, and then to think about what we can do as humans to increase it, because we're doing everything we can, of course, to cut it out. Because every time we get rid of green things, then that transpiration rate is diminished, and therefore we're seeing the effects of it. And so they're saying if we want to calm weather, the best thing we can do is to work on foresting, and especially along the coast. So, I mean, it was just 3 days of all the charts and graphs, things that they can bring to formulate that. And that's been real helpful for me, because I'm still trying to figure out how to talk to the city of Spokane about stuff. And so I'm thinking actually of starting from a bigger picture, to really understand how integral everything is and how much agency we have here to really improve our little sphere, just where we are. But we're right on a very strong river. And, we're inland, we're not on the coast, but we still have a lot to say about the transpiration rate in our area. And we have a lot of trees still. So there are things I think that we can do. And then it's tied to agriculture. So it puts the city more in the donut, understanding its connection to the rest of the environment that it sits in, and that there are things that we can do together to really make this happen. So it's really interesting. I'm really playing with how to talk about that in a way that is concise and easily understandable, and see if I can't get traction, to see if I can't really get people to start rethinking how we integrate our everyday lives, which is taking care of soil and plants, which everybody has some hand in at some level, and how we can coordinate that to really magnify that effect. There's a guy who's got an application that allows you to see on a map where people are doing this. So if we created a program that people opted into, they could then see how many of their neighbors are doing it, and where more people in the city are doing it than other people, and maybe get a little competition going about, well, we can, step into that. So we'll see. There's all these pieces starting to come together, but it's something, it's things we can do, that really will have an effect and impact.
That's right. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's getting right to it.
Yeah. Well, we can only do what we can do where we are.
Yeah.
That's really where we can do. Yeah.
Sometimes I've thought, well, I should move out of Santa Barbara, because, and someplace where I can help something, because everything here is in balance and perfect and lovely and
Well, there's people in Santa Barbara doing this work. I mean, I'm working on I'm part of the World Unity Conference that's coming up in June. And they have a Mighty Network now, and they are doing weekly conferences with people who want to be involved at whatever level, whether it's technical support or presenting. And so I'm meeting all sorts of people, and there are people in Santa Barbara who are part of this, doing things. So I thought of you on that, and I have to go back and dig out who they are, and I can send you
oh,
emails and
please.
stuff.
I'll,
Yeah.
I'll contact them. I want to have a
Yeah.
relationship with them.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, there's people in Atlanta too.
Well, it'd be good.
Yeah, okay.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's so hard to connect where you are, really. I mean, I don't know of many people here in Spokane, although I will say that moving into the composting arena and the gardening arena, it feels more compatible in a lot of ways, but you still get this territorialism and this, you can't tell me what to do, and all this, well, we've always done it this way, all those kinds of things still run through those groups. And so there's more resistance to the collaboration that's needed than you would think.
Yeah. No, I mean, if I smirked when you made that comment about that was the reason. I've touched in with some of these folks, and I'm basically leaning more toward where the movement is free.
Right.
Open.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm basically working with groups that which are concerned with the human terrain,
Right.
the psychological terrain, and clearing that. This one group called Joy, Peace. No, it's how does it start? Peace, Harmony, and Joy. PHJ. I'm just starting off with them, but I've gotten to know the person who created it pretty well, and probably will do some more work with them. It's local, but he has written a wonderful book on those three principles. It's wonderful because he takes it down to specific actions that you can do.
Yeah.
And it clearly, as I say, it clearly exposes the terrain that we operate within when we're relating to ourselves and to other people. And he's simply using the word joy, as means free flow, basically, in my mind. It's when there's free flow, whatever that might be. It doesn't matter. We're not after any particular outcomes here, except for the free flow itself in whatever process, which I suggest. I mean, I would think the two of you are both fully occupied in. But there's such a tremendous blockage among people to allowing that to happen. Somebody wants to take over, and they find their acolytes or the ones who agree with them, and and suddenly the whole process gets tilted in one direction and rigidifies.
Yeah, I find it really hard to collaborate with some people. It's like the minute they have a thing, then the collaboration ends, because you can join them or not.
Right.
But they don't understand how to integrate or how to be open enough that we could flow in that kind of way. That they don't want permeable boundaries. They really want solid boundaries.
And it
Impermeable what?
Boundaries.
Oh, right. Permeable.
Yeah.
I mean, it always takes, some give and take. Like my wife and I are quite different, and sometimes we'll get really sort of huffy with each other, but that's where the laughing comes in, you know, a few moments later, and we can be laughing at what we're doing and say, okay, well, okay, now let's get to work. You know, I mean, it's done.
Yeah.
That's such an important thing to get across.
Yeah.
To people, that without that kind of, you know, it's a pressure release valve. You know, it's so absolutely critical, or the pressure develops beyond capacity and everything stops.
That's a trait I've always appreciated in the Black culture, is that ability to laugh at themselves. And, you know, and to just say, oh, you know, oh, girl, there you go again, and then just go on with it. Yeah.
That, and it's so true.
I ponder sometimes the fact that I'm not involved in any groups. You know, this is it. We three, and some of the online circling and relational stuff to learn, but I'm not involved in any social action groups whatsoever, and haven't been for a long time here. I was in Indianapolis, but here, and I ponder that sometimes, but then I realize, oh my God, I'm so healthy here. It's and free and balanced and healthy, and it's like, and I'm not, and I don't have a car, so that's maybe part of it, but I don't know. I'm grateful for the clarity in which I live, and the lack of, I mean, I had conflict when they took away the garden, you know, for sure. And I have to let that go or I'll start crying again. So there's that. I mean, I did have that, but there was nothing to do about that. You know, I would just shut down. And you can't organize a community of seniors 80 years old or so, you know, 70, 80 years old that just stay in their apartments. I mean, there's nothing. So I've accepted my lifestyle as a gift. And my lack of those kinds of things as a gift, and the freedom that I have to pursue online the involvements that I need, and I'm always looking for that.
Yeah.
And I've recently found that I've this circling. I don't know if you know about circling as a form.
It's a structure, a governance structure. Yeah.
Well,
It comes out of sociocracy. It comes out of sociocracy.
Right. No, I understand that. This is not that. Circling is not that. It's informal, but it's an initiative of being. It's part of relational technology.
Yeah.
And I found a group that meets twice a week now, and we'll all start with them next week. But it's being with other people in your authentic self and their authentic self, and changing ourselves, which I'm aware of is the best way to change society.
Have you worked with any of the In Rhythm groups or played with that? With the opportunities?
Yes. In Rhythm is woven into this approach. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a primary actor
Okay.
in this relational advance of training.
Yeah, there's a lady named Michelle Smith, and her company is Circle Forward. And she's just amazing. She's young and vibrant and is very active in working with companies and now networks of companies using these kinds of forms. And it comes out of sociocracy, but she's expanded it a great deal in a lot of different ways. And she's in a lot of these things. So she's been just a joy to get to know. Yeah.
I'll check out Circle Forward.
Yeah, she's got lots of tools, lots of free stuff for people to assess and learn about and better understand those kinds of processes.
And each time I probe into the dynamics of what we're talking about now, what I end up with is my own state of being, my own relationship with myself, and how the vibrational field that I create to live in.
Yeah.
That's first and foremost.
Yep.
Well, the way I put it is we're at the verge of jumping from I to we.
Yeah. Yeah.
The I is important, that has to be resolved first.
Mhm.
But the we then comes easily, but we find a whole other level of work together, which is the main reason Lila June so impressed me, because that's exactly what she was talking about. That was the leap.
Yeah.
Nice.
But the I comes first.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people I know are in the midst of this, in the midst of blossoming.
Nice.
That's the way I can put it.
Good. That's my world too.
Yeah, and it is mostly older people. I mean, yeah, when I was younger, it was sort of very different state of affairs, and I'm sure it is for a lot of the younger people today. But so most of the people I know are older than 50. So
Yeah.
I'm talking about older, up into the 80s.
Yeah, because we have time. We don't have to work.
Yeah.
Oh, we
Yeah.
have Social Security.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I wonder how that would change our culture if we had a fixed wage. I forget what they call it, but if everybody got, a livable amount of money.
right.
What's
Well,
it?
in Europe, where they have such a thing, my friend Lysinka Ulatowska, has been running a UN affiliated, worldwide program, to green the world, basically ecological program. And she can only do it because she gets that money.
Yes. Yeah.
The main people who work with her, are getting, well, she's actually in her 80s too. She's about 82. And tireless. She's been doing this for 35 years.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it would free people up to truly follow what their passions are. Yeah. 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 And it would change the work environment, because if you did have people working for you, they had to love it.
People wouldn't be competing, they'd be collaborating.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you'd have to make it a wonderful environment, or people just wouldn't stay because they don't have to stay. Yeah.
Maybe we'll get to that point with the initiatives that we're involved in now.
Yeah, there's certainly talk about it. I mean, and there are experiments even in our country.
Yeah, it's also becoming increasingly clear that, and in the mass media even, that, say, you wonder why I don't want your job. Don't want it because, lack of any kind of interaction with other people. I'm on a tight schedule with people watching over me all the time. I'm being paid just slightly more than minimum wage. I can barely pay my rent for that. and you're wondering why I don't take your stupid job.
Yeah.
There's no time off. I can't see my kids.
Yeah.
I could go
My
on.
health suffers.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do they call that income thing? There's a term for it.
Yeah.
Guaranteed minimum income. I mean,
Guaranteed minimum. Okay.
not sure those are the exact words, but
Oh, what
Yeah.
did you call it?
guaranteed minimum income. Oops, somebody's really booping.
There is another term.
Yeah, there is another term that's close, but yeah. It's got an acronym too.
One of the political candidates at some point was saying that's what he or she was going to bring forth.
Yeah, there was an Oriental guy who was running for,
Right, right, the Asian
Yeah.
guy,
yeah,
Who's running for
short,
president?
the short guy.
yeah.
Well, there's so much. You can't have billionaires and have sort of an equitable distribution of living, funding.
Yeah.
Just they
And
don't.
there's no,
It's not, and yeah, I mean, there's a basic threshold that our society or the world society needs to take,
Yep.
step over before that can seriously be considered. Europe flirted with it, and it's been reasonably successful, but I understand it's on its way out, if anything. But they have progressed further than anywhere else on the planet, in terms of developing these kinds of support mechanisms for their population. I think some countries are really good at it. I mean, I understand Norway, Finland, Iceland, very, very successful with it, but it's deteriorating in England, especially, but also France.
but those countries where it's successful are pretty homogenous. They don't have huge different kinds of people.
That's changing quickly from what I understand.
Yeah, it is. And there's some real problems with it.
Denmark and Sweden have been taking in significant numbers of the refugees.
Yeah. And they're finding it's really destroying their social fabric because those people don't want to assimilate. They want to keep their old habits. And they're diametrically opposed to what Denmark has been doing. It was a huge, I don't know, 5 or 10 years ago, I was reading articles about how they were trying to deal with accepting them and saying, but you got to be like Denmark, because we've created this space and that's why it works. And so your habits, as much as you want to hold on to them, are undermining what we need to have happen here. And how do you do that? How do you filter or, change or do that? I mean, it was the same way here. When we got immigrants here in the States, we expected them to assimilate. They were supposed to do that, and that worked. And when they decided not to assimilate, that's created some of the problems that we've got, because the assumptions you make about how life works are different. Yeah, it's an interesting problem.
The economic system that we have, I still have like $3,000 in a sacred economics grant that I got in 2011 that I don't know that I haven't there. No initiative has emerged that I am aware of that can directly have impact on changing our economic system yet.
Yeah.
I'm still not aware of anything that I could invest in that specifically would be an alternative to would undermine, would inform with whatever it is yet.
Yeah.
Well, I do believe that as much energy need be put into repairing human relations across the board at every level. It'll only happen because there are people who are beginning to open their eyes to a much broader perspective. And that is happening.
Yeah.
It's happening
agree.
among the three of us, definitely. And it's why we each keep returning every week, that we realize that this is food.
Yeah.
This is nourishment.
Yes.
But we're also talking to others. And in that, I feel that there is this, pulse going out far and wide. And at a certain point, there's going to be a turning point.
Yeah.
Suddenly, the open perspective is going to have more impact, more impetus than the one that keeps tying us up. All the self-centered. I mean,
Yeah.
I see that happening very soon.
Yeah.
Because the self-centered aspect is portraying itself within the public sphere so blatantly, awfully, disruptive,
Yeah. Yeah.
destructively, that people are really beginning to say, that's not the path that is going to take us anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
The self-centered aspect seems to be the cornerstone of our predatory capitalistic economic system.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Capitalism, there's nothing wrong with capitalism in the sense of treating capital as an energy unto itself. But when you allow single individuals to control that capital, you're in deep doo-doo. I mean, if it were done in another way,
Yeah.
I don't think the government's the way to control it either. The Soviet Union.
Oh,
but to have it totally decentralized,
yes.
but where there was a culture of understanding the value of capital and working with it
Reciprocity.
at smaller levels, then something can happen. There are nodes of influence rather than trying to do it over. The worst thing that could possibly happen to capital is that it be totally consumed, controlled by these few turkeys. Gobble, gobble, gobble.
We could have Thanksgiving every day and chop off their heads.
I don't think those guys would taste very good.
Hold on a second. Housing is here to inspect my apartment. Just a second.
We get to meet housing. What a trip.
Oh, are you? All right, I heard you. I don't want to ruin your good time. That's what I mean. I'm like, should I wait and come back?
Hey, come and introduce yourself.
Yeah, I was here. I was like, they're partying in there. Maybe I should come back last. I'm like, oh, it's Friday. The inspector better hurry up today. Shoot.
All right. So this relational technology is the closest thing I've come to intuitively to addressing what needs to change. Because as we learn how to express ourselves, how to be with others, how to communicate, we have a chance of going forward together to do what needs to be done. But it starts here. It starts with how I talk to people, with how I think about things.
And to Robert's point, how we feel about ourselves.
Yeah.
Because you have to accept the crap, your own crap, in order to be able to accept other people's crap.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
We have to be able to say to ourselves, like Smalley on Saturday Night Live, by golly, I'm worth it.
Believe me, I want to break every one of them by today. All right, thank you, ma'am.
All
Have a
right.
good day.
Bye.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks you. All right.
Yeah, I mean, someone who really thinks they're worth it is not going to bury themselves in alcohol or cocaine. Fentanyl.
Yep.
It just,
Well-
all of those are, abject escapism.
To me, nature is a teacher here. And autopoiesis is the context. It's self-making. We're self-making. And so it's taking responsibility for self-making. And when we do that, we're able to interrelate in a way that works.
Yeah.
And I think somatic therapy is a really interesting introduction to autopoiesis for people, because you really begin to see how your body does things and how you can work with your body in a real self-making way. Yeah.
When you say somatic, what immediately comes to me are the initiatives of helping people with trauma.
Well, it's certainly part of that. They certainly use it that way, but it's a way, as I understand it, it's a way of resensitizing people to, I want to say, the body space, because the way I've heard people talk about it is that they find spaces in their body they didn't know they had. They find places in their body where there is peace, where they feel safe, where they can go literally inside to relieve themselves of the stress or anxiety that they're feeling in their current life for whatever reason. And it gives them safe space that is in their body that is them.
That's it.
So it's a different kind of self-making, but it is very much that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because what you're making is peace within your cellular body.
Yeah. Well, and if we're all billions of organisms, you're finding those organisms that are feeling fine, and learning to relate to them in that way. I think that's part of the beauty of being a biome, is that I'm back to life loves life. All those little critters, they want to live. They want to live. They want to thrive. And so they're looking for us to do whatever it takes to help that happen for them.
Yes.
And so they get excited when we fit to that, when we actually make that happen. It's like, yes, we're all together.
Yeah,
And we feel that. We
electric,
feel that emotion. Yeah.
electric impulses that our cells just thrive on.
Yeah.
So happy you brought this up, because my cousin, who Terry and I will be visiting next week, is a somatic therapy practitioner, has been for 30 years. She has applied some of the therapeutic, methods on me, but we've never really sat down and had a long discussion about it. I think it's maybe time, if I can find a space with her, to be able to do it.
Yeah, well, they can work virtually too. So if you want to have that conversation,
to talk about it, to find out about it, that alone will kind of cement the relational understanding between us, that perhaps we can carry on after with their various things. She's just handed me a book before. I don't do books, really. I
do books all the time. You do books all the time.
I read them for the story, for the impulse. books that are training books, I don't get. It's,
Oh.
anyway, no, I mean, that's just an aside.
Right.
Well, part of this though is that the
Things come up,
practitioner,
go.
and the client create a space between themselves that is one. That is part of the therapeutic practice. So that
And we've
the
never.
energy
do
that
that.
we carry can be blended, even if the physical is not. But they use physical positioning to facilitate that connection. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I've been getting texts like crazy.
Okay. It's time to go. Yes.
I've got to
Yeah.
But it's
Okay.
been a pleasure. So I will be away next week.
Okay.
Okay.
Would not, I'll be totally ensconced in various things. I don't think I'd be able to join in.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll see you then.
All right.
Okay.
Take
Okay.
care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.